Hi, hello, my dear students. Again, welcome back to Neat with Kiran sir. So, we are on a topic called as a morphology of flowering plants, Synopsis Part 2. So, I request to my dear students kindly subscribe and tell all your friends to subscribe to my channel and click on bell icon to get a regular updates. So, I hope you will share my videos. It is a betterment for you as well as your friends also. So we are on the topic morphology of flowering plants. So that is synopsis part 2. In the previous video we come across introduction part as well as root and its modification. Then begin with the stem. So here when I begin with the stem, first the stem is nothing but the upper part of the plant body. You can say the plant which grow above the soil surface. Generally I'm talking above the soil surface, which is positively phototropic and negatively geotropic. So here when I begin with the stem, it has a distinct regions called as nodes and internode. So since the presence of nodes and internode, then we can able to differentiate between root and stem. In case of root, we don't find any nodes and internode, but in case of stem, we can find the nodes as well as internodal region. So when I talk about nodal region, it is a point where it gives rise to the lateral branches, axillary bud, leaf, flower, etc. So when I talk about internode, it is nothing but the space between two successive nodes, isn't it? Then, so directly we go with the modification. So when I talk about modification, generally it is going to divide into three types. So here the first one we call it as underground modification, aerial modification and sub-aerial modification. Means the modification seen inside the soil, that is called as aerial modification. Sorry, underground modification. Second one above the soil. Okay, at the extreme tip, that is called as aerial modification. Just above the soil, that is called as sub-aerial modification. So begin with the first one. When I talk about underground modification, so there are different examples we are going to study. The first one we call it as a rhizome. The first one we call it as a rhizome. Rhizome nothing but it is a modified stem which grow horizontally into the soils, inside the soil, which grows in the soil in a horizontal fashion, has distinct nodes and internode along with the apical bud. So here you can look at this green color part, that is nothing but the sprouting which is coming from the apical bud. So when you observe these dark color line, they indicate nodal region. The space between two dark region is called as internode and it has a scaly leaves. Hence I can say rhizome is a modified stem. The example is ginger, banana and the turmeric. Then second one, corn. So both are having a similar character. So both are undergone modified stem. Both will look appear in the same fashion. But the corn which grow vertically inside. Okay, the corn will grow vertically inside and rhizome will grow vertically. Sorry, it is horizontally inside the soil. When I say corn, the example I can give is calocasia. Okay, remember the example, calocasia. Then third one we call it as a bulb. When I say bulb, remember it is an example called as onion. It has two different modification when I consider stem as well as leaf respectively. The first point, when I talk about stem, the stem is highly condensed and form a disc-like structure and the nodes and internode appear in the form of a concentric ring. So from each concentric ring, there is a leaf is going to appear and these leaves are in the form of a fleshy in nature and capable of storing the food material. Since the bulb is growing inside the soil, hence it is also considered as the underground modified stem. Example is onion. Similarly, the potato. So potato is also considered the underground modified stem. Why? Because it has a distinct depression on the tuber which indicate the eyes of potato, that means the nodal region. So when you keep this potato outside the soil for some time, we find the sprouting going to appear on the tuber. That sprouting is nothing but the nodal region. Hence the space between the two successive nodes we call it as the internode. Hence the tuber is also modified stem. And remember, these four are meant for the storage of reserved food material. The next one, when I talk about aerial modification, so this is called as the phylloclade. So when I say phylloclade, in case of the cactus, or you can say the plants living in a xerophytic condition, or the commonly called as xerophyte, the leaves are modified into spine. So instead of leaf, the entire function of leaf will be performed by a flat green color stem. We call it as a photosynthetic stem called the phylloclade. So the best example, the frequent example you have to remember, that is opuntia or the cactus, where the stem is modified into green flattened structure which bear chlorophyll and perform photosynthesis. Hence it is called as a phylloclade. So most of the time the question will be arise, name the modified stem which is meant for photosynthesis, or name the modified stem found in opuntia. The example or the answer will be the phylloclade. Second one, the cladode. In case of cladode, it is much more similar to the phylloclade, where in case of phylloclade, whole the stem will undergo modification. But in case of cladode, only the lateral branches will modify into a flat leaf-like structure. So you can observe these modified leaf, they are called as cladode. So cladode and phylloclade are the stem modification meant for photosynthesis. ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಮತ್ತೆ question ಬರ್ಬೋದು. What is the question is, name the modified stem meant for photosynthesis. You can get option both these, that is for phylloclade as well as the cladode. You have to select both phylloclade as well as cladode. Third one, we call it as thorn. So here when I say thorn, the best example you can remember, the citrus and bougainvillea. So in case of citrus and bougainvillea, we will see that the axillary bud is modified into spiny like structure. They appear as thorn and meant for protection. ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಕೆಲವೊಂದು ಕ್ವಶನ್ ಕೇಳ್ತಾರೆ, ನೇಮ್ ದ ಸ್ಟೆಮ್ ಮೋಡಿಫಿಕೇಶನ್ ಮೆಂಟ್ ಫಾರ್ ಪ್ರೊಟೆಕ್ಷನ್ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ you can say a thorn. Don't write spines. Then another one is meant for mechanical support, or you can say the climbing. In case of climber, we find the axillary bud is modified into spring or coiled like structure, that is we are going to call it as stem tendril. The best example is the cucumber, the watermelon, all the climber. Okay, all the climber, the family we call it as Cucurbitaceae. Okay, these are the 4 aerial modified stem. Then subaerial modified stem, as per your NCERT book, they have given vegetative propagation, the stem which is meant for vegetative propagation, that is called as. So here when I say vegetative propagation, the parts of the plant which are involved in the vegetative propagation or multiplication, that is we are going to call it as a vegetative propagation. So here the first one we call it as a runner. It is very common in case of the lawn grass, where a specially modified stem run along the soil surface, then it touches the soil where we find the presence of a sprouting. So in case of stolon, again a specialized branch will come down, okay, touch the soil surface. The tip of the stem will touch the soil surface, where again we find the best example, that is jasmine. Then sucker, a specially modified stem arise from the base, okay, that is inside the soil, grow obliquely and come out of as a new plantlet. That is in case of the best example for sucker is the chrysanthemum, that is 7th gigada. Then offset, again it is a specially modified stem which grow inside the water body. It has distinct nodes and internode. On the nodal region, above the node we find a tuft of or you can say a rosette of leaf. At the base we find a bunch of roots. So when this nodal region separate from the parent plant, they are going to grow in a independent plant. So this is nothing but offset. So these are the modification of stem. Then we'll go with the leaf. So when I talk about leaf, remember, first you have to remember the typical structure of leaf. So leaf has 3 distinct parts. The first one we call it as leaf base, second one petiole, and third one leaf lamina. So when I say base, helps to attach to the stem in the nodal region. So petiole is nothing but a stalk-like structure which connects a lamina and a leaf base. So leaf is nothing but it is an area of a flattened surface, okay, that is called as a leaf blade. So at the base of the leaf, a small tongue-like structure, that is we are going to call it as stipule. If the leaf has stipule, they are called as stipulate. If they don't have any stipule, they are called as exstipulate. Similarly, the leaf with petiole is called as petiolated, and if there is no petiole, then it is called as sessile leaves. Okay, then go with the types of leaf. So when I say type of leaf, we are going to say there are basically 2 types. The first one we call it as a simple leaf, and second one a compound leaf. So when I say simple and compound leaf, we are going to divide simple and compound leaf on the basis of the intactness of the lamina. If leaf lamina is complete or entire without any insertion or dissection, then it is called as a simple leaf. If has any dissection, then it is called as compound leaf. Again, in the compound leaf, we have two types. One is a pinnately compound leaf and second one palmately compound leaf. If the insertion or the cuts on the leaf lamina reaches only the midrib, okay, look at this one. If it reaches only the midrib, look at all the leaflets are attached to the midrib, hence are called as pinnately compound leaf. Okay, if all the leaflets are attached to the common point, that is a tip of the petiole, then it is called as a palmately compound leaf. Okay, these are the types of leaf. Then come to the venation. There are two different types of venation. So when I say venation, the mode of arrangement of leaves on a the mode of arrangement of veins and veinlets on a leaf lamina is called as venation. So there are two types. In case of all the dicotyledonous plant, we find a reticulate venation. In case of all the monocotyledonous plant, we find the parallel venation. Then we'll go with that phyllotaxy. So when I say phyllotaxy, there are three different types. First, we'll go with the definition. The mode of arrangement of leaf on stem. The mode of arrangement of leaf on a stem, we call it as a phyllotaxy. So there are three different types. One is alternate phyllotaxy, opposite phyllotaxy, and third one whorled phyllotaxy. There is a common hint. So when I say alternate phyllotaxy, it should be having only one leaf per node. Please mark it a very important point. It has only one leaf per node. Second one, if it is having two leaves in a same node in opposite manner, that is called as opposite phyllotaxy. If it is more than two leaves in a single node, that is called as whorled phyllotaxy. So once again, remember there are three types. Single leaf in a one node, that is called as alternate. Two leaves in opposite manner per node, called as opposite. More than two leaves in a crowded manner, that is called as whorled phyllotaxy. Then come to the leaf modification. Look at this onion, that is called as fleshy leaves. They are meant for storage of reserved food material. So in case of pea plant, the leaflet undergo modification to form a tendril, that is called as leaf tendril. And don't get confused between what? The leaf tendril and stem tendril. So when I say stem tendril, the axillary bud undergo modification to form a spring-like structure called as the stem tendril, whereas in case of leaflet, in case of pea plant, the leaflet undergo modification to form a structure called as leaf tendril. Then again, in case of opuntia or in case of cactus, the leaves are reduced. Okay, in case of cactus, there is no leaf because in order to control or check the rate of transpiration, the leaves are absent and those leaves are modified into spine. And remember, the major difference between the spine and the thorns are the modified stem, whereas the spines are the modified leaf. As per the evolutionary point of view, so both will represent the analogous structure because thorn and leaf, so here stem and leaf are different origin, but look at the function of thorn and spine, they perform same function, hence they are going to represent analogous structure or the convergent evolution. Okay, then the last one we are going to call it as the pitcher plant. So when I say pitcher plant, so it is also known as nepanthes or commonly called as insectivorous plant. So these plant, the leaf is modified into jug-like in order to trap the insect. And remember the important hint. So these plant will trap the insect only for the source of nitrogen. Apart from this, they are purely autotrophic organism. They can prepare their own food. But why they go for trapping the insect? It is in order to overcome the nitrogen deficiency. Okay, so okay my dear students, again I will stop here. Okay, in this video I have studied the stem as well as leaf. So kindly subscribe to my channel and click on the bell icon to get regular updates. Okay, once again thank you so much for watching.